to kick things off, you're more than welcome to.
Tim, a lot of players talk about how important it is to be able to visualize things. And you're at a point now where you can kind of visualize what 2026 is going to look like for club and country. And I know you said that, look, you took your time off. You're already training. You're already kind of gearing up for what next year is going to look like. But in these days since, have you been able to kind of process what the road ahead looks like, or is it not really time to even get that far yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do look, you kind of have a runway now, right? You have an understanding of who your opponents are with the friendlies and the lead up and then the final push for the World Cup. But I'm one of those that I don't look too far ahead. And as you said, I'm already back, doing the things that I need to do in off season to prepare myself for preseason and then obviously going into the World Cup. So it's more of a focus of what's the here and now. It's nice to know, who you have. It's nice to kind of wrap your head around what the path looks like. But you can't get to that kind of start until you do what you have to, right in front of you. And so I think, yeah, in terms of mentally, it's great. You have what's there. But it's more, what do you have to do now to get to that point? And that's where I think a lot of guys are at.
Well, since we haven't talked to you since the end of the club season, the disappointment of not making it out of the first round for the second straight year, does it feel different than last year? Is there a kind of sense of maybe this was a missed opportunity? What are the emotions coming off of that going into next year?
Yeah, I think when you get home, 2 home games, what's the expectation? The expectation, especially in this league, is to make it through, and to advance. And that's obviously a disappointment. But on the flip side, you have to look at what were the goals. Well, ideally, the goal that everybody starts out with is winning MLS Cup. And you have many goals throughout the season, and to be able to to have home field advantage and get a taste of that was important for the group. Again, disappointed that we didn't do our jobs and advance and be able to make a bigger push and maybe a bigger splash in the playoffs. But you have to process that, understand that, and immediately you have to turn the page. This sports is all about turning the page and then getting back to work and understanding where you went wrong and what you can put right.
I know it was very important for you to play here during a World Cup year, and I know, respect to the previous question, you don't want to look too far ahead, but have you started thinking about, is there less sand left in the hourglass now than you might have thought, and could this upcoming season be maybe your last professionally?
I haven't thought that far, to be honest with you. It's one of those that I think I said it in the the media availability for just after the draw, is that 38 years old and I played 45 games for club and country this year. I think we're having a different conversation if it's playing half of that. But right now, like I feel great, even with all the travel, all the the different environments. And I'm going to keep going as long as I can. I think it obviously helps having that little bit extra motivation and that little bit of a carrot sitting in front of you with the World Cup, being right there. And so that helps the drive and the push. And we'll see what happens after. I'm solely focused on the here and now, and then the World Cup, and then finishing the year out, and then we see what happens. But it's not something that I've really given too much thought about, because I'm so focused on what I need to do to get to the World Cup.
Steve, then we'll go to Steve. Space it out. Go ahead, Steve.
You're mentioning the amount of games that you played is something that I was going to ask you about, because I had it somewhere between 45 and 50 that you were with these teams. Is that amount of games, I mean, for any player, let alone, you know, a veteran like yourself, is that too many games, or is it more the tight spacing between some of the games that creates the issue?
I think it's more the tight spacing. The number of games, I think you're actually right. I think it's more, I think it's 47. If you're including the that didn't include the Leagues Cup in my numbers. So I think it's more the spacing, really. And I've for players who start early and understand early what they need in terms of recovery, it's not as difficult. It does become a little bit more challenging as you get older because you need more recovery. But the number of games has never been a detriment or a problem for me. It's having that, maybe you just need one extra day in terms of recovery. And so when the games come, the spacing is a little bit more condensed. It becomes a little bit more difficult, and you need a little bit more TLC, we'll say. But I love playing as many games as I possibly can, because I know, as Willie said, at some point you will retire. You can't play forever. As much as we would love to, you can't. And so I'm of the mindset where I want to play as many as I possibly can, because once I can't, that's it. I can't, and I'll never be able to go back and do that again. So I have no problem with the number of games. It's maybe, can we space them out an extra day or two?
And I subscribe to that too. What is a proper spacing for a professional athlete, a professional soccer athlete between them? Because basketball, football, every sport is different.
Yeah.
And stuff. What do you think it is for football?
I mean, I think everybody's bodies physiologically and mentally are different. I think everybody needs a little bit something different. Personally, if you give me 4 days in between, I'm pretty set. So the week to week, the Saturday to Saturday is great. It's when you get into the Saturdays and then the Tuesday games where it becomes difficult. I did that in the championship for years, but I was 9 years younger than I am now. So yeah, I think 3 days is tough, especially with the amount of travel. But I think 4 days is probably a good spot for most of us, who are playing.
Okay, and then your alma mater, St. Louis, is back in the College Cup, or in the Final Four for the first time in a very long time. It's a legacy program in soccer in this country. How do you, well, first, just a comment about the Billikens being, back in contention for that. And second, do you and Jamie Smith have a side bet if both them and State get to the final?
Jamie and I have not discussed. I actually haven't seen him since all of this kind of happened, and the tournament has gone on. But in terms of the program, this is what they've been working towards, for years. With Kevin Kalish, coaching and the guys he has recruiting, they've I know a few of them personally. I played with one of his assistants, and Kevin was one of my coaches growing up. So, they've done an incredible job of bringing that program back to really what everybody has always talked about, and being a hardworking team, a team that makes deep runs into the tournament. And it's great to see them back where they are. It's been a long time. It's something that I think we all, as guys who have played there, wish we could have done. But to see him doing it now is, it's great to see.
Just Jason Flowers up to the movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I will not be going. I'm actually going to New York with the family, so we're taking a little vacay.
Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Tim, thanks for taking the time to do this. I know you've probably been asked over the years what representing the United States means to you. Let me try and tweak it a little bit. Then, at this stage of your life, this point in your career, has that perspective changed in any way?
I don't know that it's changed. I think it's given me, because I've done it so long, it's given me kind of an idea of how important it actually really is. I've always felt it was really important. I've always felt that it's one of the highest honors that you can have as a player in representing your country and playing with guys who are all doing the same. I think it's given me as I've gotten older an appreciation of how hard it is to get there and how hard it is to then stay there. I think that's really what has changed. I think as you're younger, you don't think, right? You're just kind of on autopilot, and as you get older, you start to look around and think, well, if you don't continue to do the things that got you there, then you're maybe and most likely going to be left behind. So I do have a deeper appreciation of what it takes, and I do have a much better kind of appreciation of the different ways that guys have gotten there, the different paths, the different career choices, and how we've all kind of intertwined in a way and all ended up in the same spot. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about being a part of a team is how many different ways there are to get there.
We'll go on Zoom now to Carol.
Hey Tim, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just wondering about what it'll be like to have an exhibition here, as you head off to the World Cup. What'll that be like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Hopefully continue to be a part of the team and I'm able to play here with the US before leaving. It's something that I've had the opportunity to play in my hometown. I've never had the opportunity to play in the city that I'm currently representing at club level. So that'll be unique. A first time for my career, which is saying something after almost 17 years. So it's fun. It's something that we're all looking forward to and something I'm looking forward to. And my I think about my family and how they don't travel often, even for national team games, to be able to see the national team play in person in general. So for them is going to be great. It's amazing, and then I think about the city and wider fan base as a whole is they've not had an opportunity very often. I think only one other time in what 2023 maybe. And so yeah, I think it's great. It's been a long time and it's something that again we're all looking forward to and glad that we can bring the team here and have a good game to send off and head into the World Cup for.
Awesome. I heard a quote from Pochettino recently saying he didn't want the most talented players necessarily. He wants the right players. I mean, do you sense that from him? And is that something that is happening, do you feel like, with this team?
Yeah, and that's something that he's really been I wouldn't say preaching. I don't think preaching is the right word, but he's really been communicating with the group from the minute he stepped through the door, last October. And I think it took a while for everybody to really grasp what he was saying, because I don't necessarily know that guys felt that they were, or could be on the outside looking in. I think there was a complacency for sure, without a doubt, that he sensed, and I think a lot of us sensed it, but didn't know how to communicate it and work on it and fix it. And now you look at every camp this past fall, and guys are really fully understanding that you step through the doors of a national team camp, you have an opportunity, you have a chance. If you're a good teammate, good person, you work hard, you do all the things that the staff are wanting you to do, you have as good a chance as anybody to represent the national team and go to a World Cup. And I think that's such a great message to anybody, guys who were not even thought of or have thought they could make a national team. It's it's not about the best. It is about having the right mix, the right group, the right mentality, and ultimately that gives you the right team to go and represent the country.
This last window, did it feel like you're getting more toward that?
Yeah, I think it's probably the best example. You know, you look at two games, two South American opponents, two teams that you know did really well in their qualifying, teams that are going to the World Cup, one that we've drawn in our group, and he made 9 changes between the two games, and look at the results. I think it speaks so highly of the guys, the players, how serious they took it, because you could have looked at it and said, well, he's made 9 changes. He's wants to see this and wants to see that and wants to change things, or he wants to rest guys. And it wasn't that at all. It was right. These guys have earned an opportunity. Let's go and take advantage of that opportunity. Let's show everybody what we've been talking about, the work we've been putting in, the intensity, the aggression that training has been, that we're doing every single game, and putting that into practice in the game, is just it's great to see. And it's finally, this, like I said, this past fall, probably the last 3 windows started to really click, and guys really starting to understand what is required, and how far we can push that.
Lastly for me, do you get any input on who might be your center back pairing next year as Zoran
No,
asked you?
I mean, we obviously all had our had our meetings with Dean. I've not met with Zoran since being back. I think he's been traveling quite a bit. Probably scouring and looking for those for the guys that we need to come in. So no idea. I'll like I said, I'll do. I'll be here and do my best in whatever capacity that that they need me, and wherever Dean sees fit, who he sees fit, we'll work on that in preseason, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim.
Yep.
We'll go to Jorge.
Hey Tim, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. I guess my question was similar to Carol's. I guess it's more in the lines of, you played with a lot of center backs. Like, I guess what type of center back do you think complements you well, in I guess a back line like Charlotte FC's?
Um, that's a great question. I mean, going back to my time at Fulham, I played there 9 years, and I think I had 21 different center back partners. Um, so I don't necessarily know that there's one that excuse me, sorry, that there's one that I can point to and say, oh, they were the best fit with me. And it's not just who can best fit my game or my style. It's a give and take. You have to adapt as much as they have to adapt to you. So, I said this a while ago. The one of the keys to a long career is being able to adapt, being able to adjust, being able to play with different types of characters, different types of technical players, physical players, guys who have different traits to your own, and I think it becomes a little bit difficult if you're playing with someone who is a mirror image, because then you don't have that variability. So someone who probably isn't too similar to me, but still can play, is comfortable on the ball, but probably more of a physical big communicator, is probably something that has worked the best. But if it is somebody like me, then I have to do other parts of the game that we have to make up for.
Awesome. And then my next question was, both Dean and Zoran have mentioned that, they could almost see the supporter shield being more important than the MLS Cup. And coming from a league like the Premier League where, it's point based, I was just wondering your thoughts on the difference. Do you see it that same way, or?
Sorry, I've been battling a cold for days after New York. Yeah, I mean, I can understand why they would why they would say that, why they would feel that way. I think a lot of guys, a lot of managers, coaches, sporting directors who come from the European side, the supporter shield is you know like you said, it's basically the same as just a league, right? Is who wins the league. Um, the caveat of that is that, okay, yes, you have the supporter shield, but then there's the playoffs. So do you prioritize one over the other? No, you don't. It's basically two different trophies in a single year. And I think that's what makes the league unique. I don't think you can say, oh, we prefer winning the supporter shield. I think the supporter shield is great. Um, I think it's more indicative of your season and how consistent you are, or were in this season. Uh, but at the same time, there's another trophy to play for, right? And that's a tournament. And okay, teams get hot and they can win. They can win the MLS Cup. Rarely do you see Supporter Shield winning the MLS Cup, and that's where I think that's the cool thing about having the two different kind of two different trophies and ways to win silverware in a season.
Last one from me, you guys are playing some very high level friendlies with the US men's national team heading into the World Cup, just how important is it to, kind of have those games heading into a World Cup? You're playing Portugal, you're playing Belgium, some really strong teams.
Um, yeah, I mean it's really important. Listen, we talked about not having meaningful games, throughout the last year or so, and especially in the 9 to 10 months leading into a World Cup. But in saying that, that's been the narrative or the discussion in the public sphere. In the camps, it's been these are the most important games. The games next month don't matter. The games last month were learning experiences. And that's something that we've had to understand from Maurizio, is that it's labeled as a friendly. It's not a friendly. This is your chance to go out to prove to yourselves, to prove your teammates, to prove to the coaching staff that you belong. And every game, every training session is an opportunity to prove that. And with that mentality, we've created a culture and a group that is ready to go out and fight and scrap and play with intensity and focus and aggression, to treat these games like they are meaningful, because they are. They're friendlies, but they're meaningful preparation games against high level opponents. Like you said, all of these teams are playing in a World Cup, and that gives you a taste, just a small, maybe just a level below of what the World Cup is going to feel like and be like.
Thank you. One more, actually. I think I heard you say that, like, people are going to get to experience the World Cup here kind of like a Super Bowl every day, And so have you had conversations with people about it that maybe don't know the experience of what a World Cup is like in America? Have you started to get that sense from people?
Um, Honestly, not so much. I think as March rolls around, I think that's when the excitement is really going to start to ramp up. And I think that's probably about the right time that you need it to. I think anything longer, you can start to feel like, oh, this is dragging. It's too amped. We're too wired. There's still 6 months. But I mean, realistically, that's what it is. I think March will start to, you'll start to feel like the big thing is right around the corner. And it is going to be like having a Super Bowl every single day. I mean, imagine the number of games that are being played in cities, the number of people that are going to be, in and around cities. it's going to be intense, and very different to what we experienced in Qatar. And I think that's the coolest thing, is that it will be so different to the last World Cup that that a lot of guys have experienced, and even the fan bases have experienced, because yeah, it's just it's a whole different animal when you add teams in multiple cities, multiple countries, and have multiple games in one place in a day.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Ron.
Hey, Tim, thanks for doing this. What do you see as the different challenges that Belgium, Portugal, Senegal, and Germany pose for you guys?
Uh, Honestly, I haven't even looked at that far ahead. As I said before, I think they're all different teams, and I think U.S. Soccer and the staff have done an incredibly good job of bringing in different opponents, high level opponents, different styles of play. You look at a Portugal who have guys who are playing in some of the biggest clubs in the world. Belgium, who everyone talks about their golden age of players who are now kind of coming towards the tail end of that that era. Senegal, who an African team we've not faced or played an African team in these last couple months. And then Germany, I know we played them not long ago in Connecticut. But they're all good kind of barometers of where we will be going into the World Cup. And like I said, I think U.S. Soccer has done a great job of identifying the teams that are going to help us the most, while being able to help with building that excitement leading into the World Cup.
And other than just playing well, are there any benchmarks you would like to see met in the March friendlies?
No, I don't think so. I think, listen, as players, we want to go in and we want to have a good camp. We want to do the things that are being asked of us. The benchmarks, I think that's a question for Maurizio and Jesus and the staff. They'll have ideas of what they want to see, who they want to see, how they want to go about things. For us, it's waiting to know and see and hear what they want. And then you have to do it, do that immediately. It's not something that you can, yeah, we'll do that in 4 or 5 days, or we'll do that next camp. It's feet on the ground and immediately getting to work and working on the things that they want to see. Playing well is obviously going to help build the excitement. A result is a result. You can win, you can lose. Obviously, to build that excitement, you want to win as many games as possible. Have the feel good factor going into the World Cup. But besides that, it's what do they want to see? What do they want? And we go from there.
And lastly, in your off season, now that you have time, do you have the time to watch some of the games in the morning from Europe and see Christian and Weston and Tyler and Brendan and the guys?
Yeah, well, I watch a little bit. My son watches more than me. He's, I try to catch the Fulham games as as you would, having played there for so long. But yeah, I mean, I'll flip through and try to catch little parts of the games. I'll more than likely go back and watch highlights. I mean, I got 3 young kids who are here, there, and everywhere between soccer and swim. And my weekends, everyone talks about off season. When I come into the training ground, that's when my fun is. And it's more work being at home, which is a great thing. That's a great thing being a dad. But I don't get to sit down very often to catch games for more than 5 to 10 minutes at a time.
Willie, and then Ryan.
You said down the stretch last year, second half, you attribute a lot of your second half success to coming back with the national team and playing center back during World Cup and all that. How much of it though also maybe attributed to how rejuvenating it might have been to have to, given the experimental nature of Mauricio, the way he handled the national team, to feel like you had to compete again for a position, which is, again, feel like you could put your name in pen a lot of times when you come into teams, whether it's Fulham or whether it's here. How much of that might be attributed to you now kind of having that rejuvenating competitive part of the game?
I'll argue with you for a second because I've never felt that my name has ever been in pen, no matter where I've gone. And I think that's again, that's part of the drive that keeps you going. You always feel like there's someone like breathing down your neck, and that adds to your question. I think going away, knowing the demands of Mauricio and the staff, you start to understand that you do still need to push and push and push and push. It is, you know, you have to compete every single minute. We talk about every single pass being important, every single touch being important. There's all these little things that happen in a game that most people don't see, but it's like that is the most important in that moment. And yeah, I think, you know, you listen, I went away and you know, had that extended period for the 5 weeks where you're in that mode of you know, fight or flight, you know, trying to get minutes, trying to start games, trying to win a Gold Cup. And you come back here and it's a natural kind of, you just take that feeling into your club environment. And where most guys would probably say, oh, my club, the way I feel at club is very different to the way I feel at the national team. It's not. You should be able to feel those same things, and that's how you get into a rhythm and how you get into a flow. And I think it's you know, what you're saying is probably a good explanation and reason for why I did feel the way I did, and why I felt that the second half of the year, especially for me, was much better, much more calm, much smoother, and you know, ultimately probably the best I've played since being here.
Because we're the same age. What do you remember about '94?
Gosh, I mean, I remember watching the games on TV. I remember teams playing at the Rose Bowl. I don't remember what teams. I remember Columbia losing. That's a big one. I remember the the US jerseys, the stars. So I remember bits and pieces. I remember like the excitement built up around it. I just don't remember like game specific, but that's not surprising. I don't remember a lot of specifics about my own games. So watching other ones and trying to remember my the recall there is probably not going to be the best.
Right?
Sort of following up on that, I wanted to ask you just kind of about the meaning of World Cups. Like I saw Sebastian Berhalter was speaking recently, and not that he needed any help, but he was saying, like, look, I was in elementary school and I remember watching Landon score against Algeria, and that, you know, surprisingly more than his dad, was just like, yeah, that's what made me want to go to the World Cup. And everyone kind of has that moment. And I don't know if you guys think about this often, but for a lot of kids, like you guys are going to be a part of that moment and of that inspiration and of that, you know, showing people that this is possible. Do you get to think about those sort of things and what this tournament in particular will mean to that next generation? Or is that something that you think about down the line when you can kind of talk to those people when they've had their own stories to write?
Oof. I think Sebastian's might be telling a little bit of a fib, but he was in Qatar with us, so I think that probably helped him as well. No, listen, we've touched on it. Like we know. Listen, you look at '94 and what happened after '94. This league was formed right after '94 World Cup. Now, what's going to happen after 2026? We're sitting here in 2025. Who knows? Something. right? There will be growth for sure because there's been growth every year. It is something that we've said, right? We can influence multiple generations, maybe not multiple generations to become professionals, but we can influence, parents now who are thinking of putting their kids into the sport. We can influence the kids who are in the sport currently to push on and want to represent the United States. We can push them to want to represent the country at a World Cup. Maybe they're, the generation that can be a part of a team that hosts another World Cup. This is a once in a career opportunity. Like the guys are saying once in a lifetime opportunity. Yeah, in terms of playing, yeah. But it's a once in a career opportunity. We don't get this chance again. But once we host this as players, we'll never be a part of a home World Cup again on the field. And I think that's been the message that I've been trying to convey to a lot of people. And in reality, you could, we'll go one step further. You could inspire or influence a generation that's not even born yet. And I think that's when you start to look at it like deeper, that's crazy to think about. And again, we won't know until, 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the line what this means. And I think that'll be the really unique and cool part is having those conversations after the fact in the 5 to 10 years after what this meant to not just us as players, not just the teams and the league and the MLS and the US soccer, what it means to them. It'll be what does it mean to the fans, to the people who watch, to the people who witnessed, to the people who weren't immediately on the field or in the organizations, and how it affected them and all the people around them.
We'll wrap up with one final one with Steve.
Wanted to ask you about not just, talked about like the loss of Melanda here, but also Christian Fuchs has gone over to coach in the 4th division over there. I mean, he's a lefty like yourself. How did he influence your game here at this point? And, if you could talk about his influence on you, on the team, and what you expect from, his ability as a coach to develop.
Yeah, obviously, only worked with Christian for, a year and a half, year and a couple months, really. He worked mostly with the defenders this year. So he had a lot of input all season, similar to the way Pa did the previous year. And yeah, you see he was more of a left back, obviously he came here and kind of moved into the center back role, but when you find somebody who you see things in a similar way, but can have a lot of good conversations about things that maybe you see differently. And that was Fuchsy. He wanted to get the best out of everybody. He wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page, while all being able to learn from each other. And that's another thing. Even at 38, I'm still learning things. You can still learn off of people. You can still watch the young boys and the way they do things and pick up things off of them as well, even though they may not realize it. So he had a lot to say. We had a good conversation. I gave him a call once I saw that he was leaving, and he's got the drive and the brain for it. He knows he has very clear ideas of how he wants to approach things and how he wants to play, and he was able to do that and really help us as a unit to see things in that way. And it's a natural progression for him to get a head coaching job and move on. And I will say he was very pleased with the fact that we had, I believe, more clean sheets this year than we did last year, by one, I believe. So he's very proud of that. and made sure to let us know when the season finished. So, we wish him well. I'm sure he'll do well in at Northampton, and then wherever his career takes him.
Now, he was also a captain of Austria. Did you all ever talk about leadership and being a captain?
No, not really. I think when you are a captain, or you have been a captain of teams, there's not really a whole lot of conversations you have about leadership. I think guys have different styles, different ways of leading, different communication, styles. And I think it was more, he loved the fact of how many games he's played. And so that was more of a discussion and comparison, not in a bad way in any sense of the word, but he was always interested in what we were doing with the national team, and then how it was, how messages were being conveyed, and the different drills that we might be doing, because he's learning as well. So yeah, I wouldn't say there was any conversations about being captains or leadership, but it was always more trying to understand what others are doing to try to pick up bits and pieces, because like I said, we're all still learning this game.
He was asking coach.
Yeah, I mean, he would ask coaching questions that I would ask in terms of, because it's a lot easier to see things from a coach's perspective, what we're doing on the field than while you're in it. So yeah, I would ask playing questions, and he would ask coaching questions. And we would have different conversations throughout the week. So yeah, it wasn't it was really good.
Tim, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.